very Rammstein.
I love Rammstein, by the way.
No, so do I. That's no dissing. So, Greg, thanks for being here today. I'm sure everyone's really excited to hear from you about your experiences as a founder. If you were setting up Octopus today, what would you do differently?
That's a great question. I think, first of all, I wish I'd set it up a few years earlier.
Right.
We started it in 2015, but we had the idea in maybe 2011, and I didn't have the confidence to go and raise the amount of money we needed without any MVP.
Yeah.
And an MVP is hard in a regulated sector.
Yeah.
So we probably lost 4 years. And because business growth is exponential, I do sometimes think about where would we be now if we'd had 4 more years of exponential growth. If I were to start it now, I think that we would be, today we employ 11,000 people. We're a digital native business. I think we build an AI native business, and by this scale we might employ 1,000. So I think we'd be starting with AI at the core.
Yeah.
In a way that we couldn't 10 years ago.
Yeah, and that would enable things to be, I was talking with a friend the other day about, obviously that enables you to create entirely new workflows rather than just slotting it into your existing stack.
Yeah, I think that, so part of the founding idea for us, there were many founding ideas, but one of them was that large enterprises essentially have grown up with every function building or buying its own software. So they're very siloized.
Yeah.
And so in a digital native business, you could build a piece of software that every function would use, and it would make it more efficient. So when we provided Kraken to one large company, it reduced the number of employees from 10,000 to 3,000. I think if you do it AI native, it might be 300. And we've got to be preparing now for that world.
Yeah, absolutely. So I believe that Octopus is now the UK's biggest household energy provider.
Yeah.
And to be honest, when I was researching for this panel, I asked among friends, do you use Octopus? What do you think? You're quite a popular company. Your customers quite like you. Why do you think that is?
Well, you know what? The original insight was that energy companies around the world, utilities around the world, are terrible at customer service. They provide very bad value, and they're not agile. And that's because they're running on outdated systems, and their incumbency is their main competitive edge. I think that we thought that we could use technology to fix those 3 problems. But actually, my very first view was we could be hyper efficient if our customer service was Ryanair.
Yeah.
Right? So Ryanair is unbelievably efficient because you have to do what they tell you.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the original idea is we were not going to have a phone line. You're going to have to do everything, via our app or digitally. And in return, we would give you the cheapest energy in the world, right? But our first investor said, look, I love everything on a business plan, except the customer service. I think you should give the best service in the world. And he convinced me. And I think what's amazing is I've discovered, first of all, you can never be the cheapest energy company because the way pricing works, someone's always going to be cheaper because they're willing to lose money for a period or because of the market volatility.
Yeah.
And especially during the energy crisis in Europe, price suddenly became, we were not in control of price, but we were in control of service.
Yeah.
And actually, despite the fact that our prices during the energy crisis increased by 150% very quickly, and it was very stressful for households, our customer ratings improved. And they improved because the service during that period was even more important, because helping them through a difficult period really mattered. And so I think actually it was one of those examples where the investor brought an insight which we did not because we wanted the money, but because they convinced us, and I'm so glad we took their advice.
Yeah, well, while you're mentioning investors, obviously Slush is like a bit of a feeding frenzy. Lots of investors, lots of startups, lots of people trying to meet each other and get or give investment. If you were going to give, yourself some advice when you were starting out and dealing with investors, you've gone through lots of funding raises. What would be your main kind of tips for dealing with investors?
First of all, when I was, I think I've founded 5 businesses now, and at the beginning, I remember people used to say to me, it's not about the money, you need to get the right investor. And I remember going, yeah, oh definitely, yeah. And really, it was, I just want the money.
Yeah.
And I think it feels so hard that you'll take, you can take what you can.
Yeah.
I think that having been through this process a few times now, actually, that advice is the most important advice there is, which is investors that are right for you are so critical, they will determine whether or not you're successful or not. Like, everyone's nice at the beginning. Nearly everyone's nice at the beginning. But I think spending a lot of time with them to check that you've genuinely got an aligned vision and that they're backing you and speaking to other people they've backed so you understand who they are. And only when you've really, really got comfortable should you take the money. And at every round we've had, we have turned down some investors who may have paid more or given us a higher valuation because I wasn't comfortable they were properly aligned. And I think it's really tempting when you want the money to ignore that. But I think that in the long run, you definitely want the right investor.
Yeah, I think a lot of founders just sort of too grateful, at least initially, I suppose, and you kind of see that happening. One thing I do wonder about is...
I think it's like a nightclub, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like dating.
Yeah.
Like, if you look desperate, you're never going to get the best dates.
Yeah.
If instead you are confident enough to walk past people till you find the right one, you're going to get better dates. And it's the same with investing.
Yeah, okay. That's a great piece of advice. I think there's actually like a speed dating booth somewhere. So yeah, I mean, I can literally see it right there. So obviously there's a dating metaphor in there somewhere. One other thing that I wonder about as well is founders are a funny breed. They're not very normal people. You know perfectly well what founders are like. The thing that I'm curious about is, at what point can you relax as a founder? Can you ever actually just go, basically this is going to be fine now, I don't need to be worried, I don't need to be on top of things all the time? And if there is the point, when was it for you?
No, well, I think first of all, it's actually really important. A lot of the time you'll see people who are not entrepreneurs talking about, how do we get more entrepreneurs, and we've got to do entrepreneur training and all this stuff, and there may or may not be some merit in that. But I think the reality is that one of the most important characteristics, certainly in my world, is having, people say, where do you get your energy from? And it's more, I do this job because I have the energy. And I think if you really know yourself, you can decide whether or not this is something you want to do, recognizing all the challenges and sacrifices on the way, or you go about it a different way. So first of all, in my world, I think the moment I relax, our business is 10 years old, and I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years. Yeah. I think the moment I relax, I'm dead, right? And so even 10 years in, today I got up at 5 a.m. I went to bed at 1:30 in the morning, got up at 5 a.m. Yeah. I'm going to leave here and go back for dinner with a major partner, and I'll get home about midnight. And then, the day before yesterday, I was in Lisbon doing the same thing and got home for a dinner. And I think you just have to be, if you want to build the biggest things in the biggest industries, you have to be relentless. Yeah. But I also want to be clear that that's my recipe. Yeah. I actually, at the same time as we started Octopus, I co-founded another business. Yeah. And the CEO there he has a very different approach to life. So he would turn up to work at 9 a.m. He would leave at 5:30 p.m. And basically not do work in between. He did work in between, not after.
Yes.
And we ended up building a business that provided technology to 2/3 of the health system in the UK. And so it was successful. And they exited with a valuation of, maybe $80 million. So it's good. But I think if but he wouldn't make the sacrifices that would make 800 or 8 billion. Yeah. And I think that's a personal decision. And you have to know yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, what I'm mainly hearing from that is just like learn not to sleep. But I mean,
I generally was clear. That's only when we're all different people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think just recognizing yourself and saying, like, what are my strengths?
Yeah.
Is the most important thing. And I think so often you read all these books or you'll see videos and they're all about how can you change yourself to achieve your goals. And I think it's different. You say, how do you set your goals once you know yourself?
Yeah.
And then you'll be happy because you've got goals that are compatible with you.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering a bit about the points where, the opposite, I guess, of the last question. What were the biggest challenges that you faced at Octopus? What was the hardest stuff, and how did you overcome it?
Honestly, I genuinely love it. You know, if at the end of a game of rugby, you ask the players what was the most challenging bit of that game, I think the bits that from the outside look challenging are the ones that they enjoy the most. And so on the whole, honestly, I can't think of any.
That's great.
Pardon?
That's great. I mean, that's a great attitude to be able to carry around. I think that's very positive. I wonder, given that we're both British, why did Octopus emerge from the UK? Is that just because that's where you happen to be, or do you think there is something about the UK environment that was particularly conducive?
No, I think, I mean, look, I'm here today, and there are people here from all over the world, especially all over Europe, and particularly Scandinavia, and the vibrancy here is remarkable. I cannot imagine, like, this is like the primordial soup. You know, you've got all the kind of ingredients from which some incredible life will emerge. I think we couldn't have started our business in the USA, though, and we couldn't have started it in China, and we couldn't have started it in a whole bunch of other countries, because in the UK, you have a free market for energy. Essentially, customers can choose an energy company, as they can in the whole of Europe. And I think that that enables new ideas to emerge. Whereas when you have the monopolies, the regulated monopolies in other countries, you can't innovate. I had a great conversation once with Tim Berners-Lee, who invented the internet. Sorry, the web.
Yeah,
not the internet.
I was just,
exactly.
Wait a minute.
Very clear. He invented the web.
Yeah.
But he said, you know, we made it so you could connect anything. And in return, people connected everything. And I think free markets are like that. Like, the freer the market, you don't know what's going to emerge, but everything can emerge from it.
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder about that, because obviously, you know, like you say, in the UK, there is a relatively wide choice of potential providers, and you don't see new providers pop up that often. How did the incumbents react when you burst onto the scene a decade ago?
So, I think, first of all, we never set out to be an energy provider.
Right.
We wanted to build a very big business and a big customer base to give us a route to market for the technology we wanted to build. And then we wanted to sell that technology to other companies. And so, really, I think as a lesson I've always learned is that the quicker you can start delivering a real valuable service to real customers, the quicker you can find product market fit, you can build the revenues and get the investment to keep on innovating. And so from our perspective, I love being an energy provider. I think, like, I was delighted the experiences you described earlier, but that was really our entry point. I think that there's an important bit about that, which is, you know, if you've got your eyes set on something on the horizon, then all of the challenges, if you like, of the short-term stuff feel a lot easier. Because they are just like, if you're trying to achieve this thing here, that's all you think about.
Yeah.
If you're trying to say something over there, then this thing's just a little molehill, it's a little bump in the road. And so I think from our perspective, that was really important. I think the other bit was that one of the founding ideas for us was we'd previously had a business that built enterprise software. And we wanted to provide revolutionary software to utilities. And they were too conservative. They said, look, someone's got to do it first. And we could have spent forever trying to persuade them. But we realized we would be the people that did it first. So we set up our own utility. And I guess it is all based on this idea that the quicker you can start getting real revenue, the dramatically more likely you are to be successful.
Yeah. Yeah, and I also kind of want to dig into, talking about the kind of customer service side. How do you receive feedback from customers, and what do you do with that once you get it?
So one of the Kraken is the platform that we built for our company and everyone else.
Yeah.
One of the founding ideas for me was that in traditional retailers, the CEO, the directors, all the managers can go in any store and immediately can see how well that store is performing. You can see, are the staff being friendly and helpful, or are they hiding in the corner? Are the products nicely put on the shelves? Is the store clean? Or are there piles of shit in the storeroom? And it was like, how do you create that in a service industry where the product is intangible? And so when we built Kraken, one of the key things was I wanted to make sure that every senior manager could literally see day to day what's going on with customers. So you can log into Kraken, you can look at any conversation that people have had, you can see the state of any account, you can listen to any conversation. And that means that, like, for example, if I get an email or see something on social media about a bad experience, or a good one, I just log into Kraken and I listen to it. I look at the state of the account, I work out what's happened, and then we can have the right conversations at a senior level that enable us to continually improve the business. And I think making things tangible is the key.
Yeah, yeah. I want to sort of shift gears slightly now and look a bit about the kind of clean energy transition more broadly. Which technologies do you think deserve more attention or funding?
In clean energy?
Yes, than they are receiving now. Because you must have a great sort of overview.
I think that governments, unfortunately, energy is so defined by policy and regulation.
Yeah.
And governments, like, you see all these things that they'll have PowerPoint slides that go, this is the energy system of the future. And the reality is we're in it today. So they always have a slide that talks about, like, one day you'll have cars and heating systems being intelligently that's all happening now. And I think that the freeing up our grids to be managed digitally could reduce the amount of infrastructure by 50%. So if you look, like, Germany's currently planning on spending $500 billion on new grid and new networks. And honestly, half of that is most of it is entirely unnecessary if they optimize it. It's a bit like we're at a tech conference, right? Everyone here knows that when you watch a video on Netflix, they're not sending an uncompressed stream of data just to you. Right? It's been compressed and buffered and stored, preempted. It's got massive distribution networks. All of this is going on without the consumer noticing. If the regulators and governments that run the grids ran that system, they wouldn't be buffering and compressing. They'd just be building more and more fiber. And I think we've got to get them to understand that using your infrastructure better dramatically reduces the amount you need. And so the most important thing now, going forward, has got to be optimization. But I should say special mention there to electric vehicles, where the cost is plummeting. Some parts of the world, like here, are doing very well. Too many countries are held back by the incumbents. If there's anyone here that knows BMW, please tell them hydrogen cars are never going to happen. It's fucking nuts. They're letting China have the industry. And simultaneously, batteries for homes, for substations, everywhere. Batteries are going to be 100 times cheaper. In a couple of years, they'll be 100 times cheaper than they were 12 years ago. It's going to change everything.
Yeah, yeah. Our climate editor is very excited about batteries.
To give you an idea on this, right? Just in the UK, Octopus processes 1 million data points every 3 seconds. I think that is 30 times more than Visa globally for payments. If we optimize our system, we can dramatically save money, but unfortunately, our governments and regulators are not moving fast enough.
If you could wave a magic wand and get rid of one piece of regulation somewhere, what would that be? Or,
or introduce one, right? I mean,
or introduce one, interpret at will. Yeah.
Like, first of all, every bit of regulation kills startups. UK energy regulation used to be 75 pages. It's now 1,200. Right? If we want innovation, just shrink down. Like, literally, you've got to take a pen through some of this. If you want to introduce one thing, Europe as a general needs more price signals. Right? Because you can't optimize a system without an objective function. And so cost at every location, at every time, enables us to do that.
And if you were advising sort of an early stage clean tech founder at this point, navigating all of this, what would you say? How do they, because you're describing, I mean, masses of regulation.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Well, I think in the early days, you have to assume regulation and policy are not going to change. And so you have to work out, how can I create a real business today where I can get to revenue? And as you build a bigger business, you then get the chance to either influence policy and regulation or to be able to sell your service into larger organizations. But I think you have to say, like, I've got to assume the world is not going to change, like, the world is what it is today, whilst building a future that's going to be very, very different.
And I want to kind of zoom really far out now, if possible. I don't think this is a can question, because we know that we can mitigate disastrous climate change. Do you think we're going to?
You know, I hate to say this. I think thanks to China, we might.
Yeah.
If I look at what's going on in the world today, the US has reverted to drill, baby, drill, and populist politicians in Europe are latching onto that. And it's very appealing. There are many, many people who think the world was better as it used to be, and that's part of it. But this genie's out the bottle. The cost of clean energy, of solar and of battery in particular, coming out of China, not driven by state subsidies, not driven by low wages, but driven by relentless innovation. What's going to happen over the next few years is that fossil fuel technologies are mature. They're not going to get much better. The technology of electrification are improving exponentially. And there's going to be an economic gap that opens between the countries that grab this future and run with it and the countries that go back to fossil fuels. And there is a real, like, I recently flew from Beijing to New York via the UK, and it was, for the first time ever, it was like going back in time.
Oh, really? God, that's quite the signal. I wonder what you would like to see next. I mean, we've just had the G20. I mean, just sticking with this topic for the last little bit, if you don't mind. What actions could... Well, I don't want to talk about individual actions, because I just think that's generally a kind of complete waste of time. What actions would you like to see at a government level happening now?
Yeah, we need cheap electricity. Like, Europe is about 20 to 25% electric. US is the same. China used to be 10% electric, it's now 33% and growing. Electrification is the most important trend you can back, and to do that, you want cheap electricity. And look, as much of that as we am from clean sources is great, and the more we electrify, the more we can build clean sources. But amazingly, an electric car powered by electricity generated from gas still has lower emissions than a petrol car, right? So electrifying is the most important thing. By the way, it's also the technology for everything. If you look at, the tragic war in Ukraine, electrification of for example, ground-based autonomous vehicles, electrification of drones and electrified technology. China is winning on almost all the technology of electrification, and I think we really have to accept that, learn from it, and be bold moving into that future. And we're too obsessed. And look, founders and innovators are the best people to tell these stories, because we're not trapped by the incumbency. Like, we can create the new world, not try and defend the old one. In fact, we have to. But this electrification is, I think, key. Like, for example, data centers. Is it not crazy that across much of Europe, data centers can't even get hold of electricity? That's how backward our economy is becoming. And so I think we have to be brave in advocating just clearly for electricity, and then we'll clean it up as we go, but we have to electrify.
Well, we're going to have to end it there, unfortunately, but thank you for humoring me with the expansive range of questions, and thank you, everyone, for listening to us today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.